Muito bom dia. Agora são 3 horas. PY2EXU, Paulo, transmitindo por São Paulo, proximidades aeroporto de Congonhas, frequência 146.410 MHz, FM no direto, é o nosso Clube de Radioamadores de São Paulo, CRASP, como Charlie, Romeo, Alfa, Sierra, Papa. Iniciando mais uma edição. Hoje, domingo, dia 6, nosso time, das 3 ao meio-dia. Estaremos aí com mais de 9 horas de QAP. Também ao vivo lá pela internet. Quem quiser acompanhar no YouTube, é só digitar a rodada alto-falante e clicar no ao vivo. Em qualquer lugar do planeta, você acompanha aí diariamente a rodada nas duas edições, ok? Hoje não teremos aula de CW, nem de legislação e nem comando de rodada, ok? Aula somente de segunda a sábado. Hoje, domingo, outros temas, assuntos, bate-papo aí com os amigos, enfim. Outras atividades aqui na rodada, porém, amanhã a gente retoma as aulas, ok? E lembrando, janeiro, iniciando aí mais 3 cursos, com 7 turmas, tá bom? Depois eu falo das turmas, horários. E vamos lá. Oportunidade aos amigos com um bom dia.
I really appreciate all the help you've given me. So let's have a quick look at my shack. Well, up here I've got these are just monitors. They're like touch screen. I'll just quickly show you. You can sort of operate them, all kinds of different things, and they're all like sort of touch screen, and it's quite handy. It's quite handy to be able to view what's going on, and it should dim in a minute. It'll dim after a while. So, but I got one for each radio. That's for the 7610. This one's for the 7300. This one's for the 9700, and this one's for the MB1, which is still in its box upstairs, really. Mixer here that I use now and again, and this is just a ELAD VFO that I sometimes use with the awesome SDR console that I mostly use for satellite, and I'm using the SDR Play Duo, which is on the wall there, for the SDR. Speak more about that in a short while. Got switches here, which obviously to do with mostly VHF. Down here is my favorite switch. It's a little bit on the light side. I'm hoping that you'll get this. You can't really see it when it's lit up, but if I go to dummy load here, you'll see that's actually 6 meters. 2 antennas outside. Sorry, 3 at the moment outside on the tower, and that is the HF beam, which is the Force 12 antenna. Then I've got the 5-element 6 meter beam, and then I've got the collinear right on the top. I've got the tower up about 60 foot at the moment, and it's only it's not too bad out there. It's if I quickly show you, it's only about 1.2 at the moment on the wind factor, so it will go up higher, but I thought let's just sit it around about 60. And I've had some fun today on the radio, and I thought before I pack up the radio today and wind the tower down, let's do a video for people. I love this switch. It's made by Ham Plus, and it's an MBD62. So there's a switch under the desk, and basically you can have 2 radios to any antenna. I've got some more antennas to go outside. I've got some fan dipoles and all kinds of different things, but a fantastic switch. I really love how I can then just sort of switch into like the 7300 and the 7610, whatever antenna I want on whatever radio. And I can also switch down here from 76 to 7300 and then have it going to the amp. So I really like those two radios and that sort of icon combi, whatever. Combo, sorry, not combi. The power supplies I use are Dower. I love Dower power supplies. Had them quite a while. One's 30 amp. This one I just use actually for the satellite equipment up there. So it's a bit redundant, but at least it runs that. And the more beefier one, which is 40 amp, I use it for all the radios. So let's have a look at the sorry, but I'm on a gimbal here and I'm sort of turning it around. It's my first sort of attempt of doing the video on the gimbal, so it's a little bit smoother for you. Here I've got the ATU. I used to have a different ATU, but I decided to go for LDG. It's nice and compact. It works really well. It's an AT1000 Pro 2. I've never had any problems with it. It tunes really great. And I love how it sort of connects to the radio. So you just touch the button on the radio and then it sort of does its job on the tuner. So really, really good, totally automated. The new piece of equipment that you'll see in my shack is the new rotator. Absolutely love this rotator. It probably looks a little bit bright on the camera because it's not very good, this camera. I'm only using my phone camera, but it is great. I mean, it's all touchscreen. And I don't know if I can zoom in there so you can actually see. It's all touchscreen. You can do all kinds of different things like appearances, and you can have multiple rotators hooked up to this. It's also an interface so that if you're using a logging program, it will, I've just put in the call sign and it will turn the antenna automatically for me. And it's really great for like calibrating and stuff.
Agora são 3h07. A gente cumprimenta o nosso amigo Ricardo. Bom dia, Ricardo. Grande abraço. Bom domingo. Obrigado aí pelos votos, ok? Para quem é radioamador, tem muita gente que acompanha a rodada pela internet, não só no Brasil, né? Em várias partes aí do planeta tem amigos acompanhando. Então, não sei quem chega a ser radioamador, se não é, se está no Brasil, se não está, ok? Mas eu vou falar do evento que teremos aí nas próximas horas. É hoje, né? É dia 6. Hoje teremos encontro de radioamadores na cidade de Poá, ok? Não sei se o amigo Ricardo está aqui em São Paulo, em outro estado do Brasil ou em algum outro local aí do planeta, ok? Quem estiver em São Paulo, ou mesmo aí no interior, litoral, hoje teremos o 9º encontro de radioamadores na cidade de Poá, ok? Vou passar já os endereços, os dados, tudo certinho para quem quiser comparecer, ok? Lembrando que esses eventos são para todos, ok? Não só para radioamadores. O Ricardo está para São Paulo, então maravilha. Então você vai no encontro, legal. Então mais um amigo que vai no encontro lá em Poá. Maravilha, Ricardo. E para quem não conhece, eu passo já então a localização, ok? Endereço e alguns detalhes do encontro. Tranquilo? É um encontro que acontece anualmente, promovido pelo nosso grande amigo Jardel, que é um grande radioamador, professor de CW, e anualmente tem esse evento, ok? Para quem não conhece, vale a pena conferir, tá bom? O horário, se eu não me engano, das 8 horas em diante, 8, 8h30, tá bom, Ricardo? O pessoal chega às 8 horas, 8h30, né? Alguns chegam um pouco mais tarde, mas a partir das 8, 8h30 provavelmente já vai ter gente por lá, ok? Se eu não me engano, começaria nesse horário aí, entre 8 e 8h30, tá bom? Vou abrir depois aqui a informação completa, já passo aí na rodada, ok? Bom, deixa eu abrir espaço para os amigos. 3h09, oportunidade com bom dia.
But you can see how curved it is. It's an extremely curved machine. the ultimate for like games and all kinds of different things. It's great for video editing, absolutely superb for like SDRs, and got a few LEDs on the back. It lights up all nice and blue at night, and saves me putting the light on in the shack, I guess, when I'm letting the dog out and stuff. So that's the computer. Down here, you'll see there's an equalizer. If I just zoom out a bit, there's an equalizer down there, and on one channel, channel A, I have it for the 7300. I know it's got one inside, but this one's a little bit more superior, and you can get just the fine adjustments on it. And the one on channel B is for the 9700. So I love that combo of the three icons. It works really well. They work all extremely well, and yeah, just really love the love that. Let me just quickly go back. I really love the sort of three radios working together. It's just they all match nicely. The speakers, I actually done an upgrade on the speakers, and got both matching speakers for the smaller ones up the top, and obviously the 7610. But what I did is the original speakers were terrible, absolutely terrible. So I'd done the FITS upgrade, which you can see on another video that I've done. And since the upgrade, it makes the speakers very, very heavy. It's really, really good quality, but they sound amazing, absolutely amazing. And what I do is I have all speakers for all radios. And the way I'm able to do that is I use a mixer, which is down here, and I have splitter cables that go to the mixer. And then from the mixer, they go to all the speakers in the shack. These ones are a little bit higher in frequency than obviously these ones. The filters all still work in the speakers as well. So I sort of get a match between sort of like the top and the bottom, and I sort of use these as like tweeters for the higher frequencies, and I use these obviously for a little bit of the lower end, and it just works really nicely. It sounds really nice having those speakers all in front of you as well. So back to the audio side. So the audio side, I'm using two things for audio. I use the audio rack, which is all DBX equipment. And I also use that online for when I'm doing my podcasts and videos and stuff like that. So that's what I use online most of the time. I can also use the 8-band EQ. This is what I prefer to use on radio mostly, but I can always switch it across to the rack. And so I'm using the 8-band EQ.
Bom, a gente vai passar informações aqui do evento hoje em Poá, ok? Quem quiser anotar, quem não tiver endereço, pega uma caneta, pega um papel, ou no celular também, né? Anota aí no celular ou grava, né, as informações que eu vou passar. Então, vamos lá. 9º encontro de radioamadores, hoje, domingo, dia 6/11, na cidade de Poá, Rua Lucindo Pereira Jordão, número 120, Vila Áurea, Poá. Então, repetindo, 9º encontro de radioamadores, cidade de Poá, hoje, 6/11, domingo, Rua Lucindo Pereira Jordão, número 120, como primo segundo negativo. Vila Áurea, cidade de Poá, ok? Durante a rodada hoje eu vou estar passando aí várias vezes o endereço. Quem não tiver, anota e compareça, ok? Lembrando, são para radioamadores, PX, corujas, simpatizantes do hobby, ok? Todos os amigos convidados. Vai ser o dia inteiro, ok? O dia inteiro. E o Jordão está pedindo quem puder colaborar, levar um pouco de ração para gato ou para cachorro, ok? Eles têm algumas instituições carentes para animais, ok? Instituições carentes cuidam de cachorros, gatos, E eles estão precisando ali de ração, ok? Então, quem puder colaborar, um saquinho aí de 1 quilo, quem puder levar mais, leva, né? De 3, de 5, enfim. É por uma causa nobre, ajudando lá os animais da cidade, tá bom? Então, quem puder, leva lá um saquinho de ração para gato ou cachorro, estará colaborando também lá com as instituições carentes de animais que são, às vezes, deixados aí na rua, né? Infelizmente, muita gente pega, não cuida, né? E joga de volta na rua o animal, né? Como se fosse um saco, né? Que nem usa mais, enfim. Lamentável, né? Então, quem não pode pegar um animal, gato, cachorro, não pega, né, ô Ricardo? Se não tem condições de cuidar, nem pega, né? A gente pega o animal, depois larga numa porta de casa, né? Num veterinário ali, qualquer, né? Numa caixinha, enfim. Então, lamentável, né? Se você não pode cuidar, não pega, ok? Então, fica a dica para os amigos, quem for lá no encontro, um pouquinho de ração para gato ou cachorro, será colaborando lá com eles, ok? Bom, 3h16, oportunidade com bom dia.
But also you can see on my noise gate, it's also working on the 8-band as well. So when I go on the computer, and this is my little thing for the computer, I just sort of do that, and I can turn up the volume here on my audio. Also, you can, by touching it, I can just go to the headphones and stuff like that. So it's a very, very simple interface that takes the rack to the computer. So when I'm doing my stuff online, and then I just got to touch it to turn it off, and then I'm back on radio, sort of thing. So works very, very well. I'll just show you from this side that colossal monitor I have. It's actually about 4'2". 4'2". At the top of my shack, I've got the Elgato face cam. Got DSLR cameras as well, but this has just come out recently, and I thought, yeah, it's brilliant. So if you're thinking about getting a really good webcam, Elgato face cam. It's probably one of the best face cams on the market. It's superb. The monitor above.
Tá, bom dia aqui pro nosso amigo Douglas, sumido, hein? E Douglas, que tá sumido da rodada, hein? Tudo em paz, tranquilo? Perguntaram do amigo, falou, cadê o Douglas? Tomou Doril? Falei, não, o Douglas tá provavelmente trabalhando bastante. Falei, é que eu imaginei, né? Deve estar correndo num assunto, no outro, coisa de batente, enfim. Tá tudo certo por aí, Douglas? Aqui também tudo tranquilo, ok? Família tá boa, todo mundo bem e tudo em paz, tranquilo? Positivo, te aguardo aí. Tá bom, Douglas? Deixa eu dar uma olhada aqui, ok. Positivo. Ah, você tá agora na Bienal. Agora que eu tô vendo aqui, ó. Bienal do Ibirapuera, né? Ô, doido. Acabando o evento, aparece aqui, tá bom? Te aguardo aí. Parará, parará. Positivo. Ah, novidades, hein? Já tô com a minha estação na parte de cima, ok? Já subi toda a tranqueirada, limpei tudo, né? Deu muito trabalho, ok? Nossa. Cabo, tudo eu limpei, né? Porque cabo enche de pó também. Fiação, cabo, tudo, né? Mas deu um trabalho lascado, hein? Primeiro, né, para limpar tudo, depois trazer tudo para cima. E depois tornar a ligar tudo novamente, né? Então já fiz algumas mudanças, né? Já passei a mesa e tal, da direita para a esquerda. Né? No lugar já pus um outro monitor. Fica mais fácil para controle da rodada, ok? Então, com o monitor parado, eu falei, já ponho para funcionar, né? E também o Roberto já veio aqui no domingo passado, né? Já pusemos outro cano, ok? E já subi mais 7 metros a minha antena, tá bom, Douglas? Então, já está tudo aqui nos trinks novamente, ok? Agora acerto final, né? Pouquinha coisa aí para finalizar, tá bom? Poucos acertos, algumas acomodações aqui que eu estou mexendo ainda, mas praticamente finalizado. Tranquilo? Então fica à vontade aí, grande abraço e boa finalização aí de batente, ok? Sim, com certeza, hein? Quando eu puser minha torre de 100 metros, eu vou ficar contente. Com toda certeza. Oportunidade aos amigos, com um bom dia.
So here's the PC, and as you can see, it's really quite something. It's a 12th generation PC, liquid cooled, 10 fans. As you can see there, I don't know if you can see that liquid circulating there, but it's 4 terabyte on a SSD M.2 drives, and 128 gig of RAM on DDR5. It's got an RTX 40 graphics card. It's all liquid cooled on the graphics card, and obviously liquid cooled on the CPU. So it's extremely quick. It really is. I mean, for radio, it's really overkill. But like I said, we have it for flight sim. My son and I really love the flight simulator, and so that's what sort of powers it. Super smooth. So there it is. Really, that's the shack. I could show you outside quickly. I could just do a quick video of like the antenna. I'll just quickly go outside. So the antenna is up at the moment. I don't know if I'll get it in the camera or not, so we'll just have to see. Hang on. So just bear with me because I'm using a gimbal here. So the antenna is up at the moment about 60 feet, and see that up there. I'm just trying to zoom in at the same time. 2 antennas on the tower. 3 antennas. There's the HF beam, and then about 8 foot above the HF beam is the 6 meter 5 element LFA, and then I've got the collinear rod on the very top. The satellite dishes, just so you can see. This one is just get it right. So this one here is an 80 centimeter dish, which I use for receive. And then there's this one over here, which is the one that I transmit on, which is a 1 meter dish. So this is the 1 meter dish here, and works really, really well. Love the satellites. So I've got some more antennas to put up. Got lots of new wire antennas and stuff, fan dipoles and stuff. And so I'm just waiting to get them up, and looking forward to getting back on like 40 meters and stuff. So there it is, guys. That's the antenna. And now you can see the shack completed, all completed once and for all. I am pretty pleased that it's all completed, to be honest, because it's been quite a lot of work. It really has been a lot of work to get it to this sort of level. And for those of you that have seen my videos in the past, you know that I've worked very hard on getting it right. In fact, I was building the desk when I was very, very poorly, so I had to do a little bit at a time, but I knew it would get there one day. And here we are. The shack is complete. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it gives you some great ideas. I'm just going to shut this door here. It's getting chilly out there again. I'm going to go out and wind the tower down in a minute. I think I've had my fun for radio today, and then I'm just going to chill out a little bit. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it gives you some ideas of what I've done myself. Really love the hobby. It's a great hobby. Haven't always been active, but I've always loved the hobby, and it's great to sort of play around with radio when we get time, of course. So hope you like it. I'll just show you quickly my globe. And the reason I'm going to show you this is you'll notice at the moment it's actually still. But if I open the door, it will start to turn around. Now, you might have seen these globes. If you haven't, get one for your shack. It's great. So let me just open the door, and I'm going to show you what happens to this globe. It uses the Earth's gravitational pull and ambient light. Now, in a minute, you'll see that will start to turn. He says it might be a little bit dark for it to to actually work. It was turning earlier, and I don't know, maybe. Let's have a come on, move. So you'll see it starting to turn in a minute, but it might be a little bit too dark. Sometimes it does. Ah, here we go. I think it's starting to turn. It does take a while for it to build up momentum, and there it is. You can start to see it turning, hopefully. It is a little bit sort of dusky out there. It's not quite bright day. It's light. It looks a little bit brighter on the camera, but it's actually a little bit getting a bit darker now. But you can see it moving. I don't know if you can see it moving there. It's actually going around. It does go around faster than that, a little bit faster. It's great to have a globe that actually moves. If you can see that moving, and I love it. Got one in the living room. This is a 10-inch one, but in the living room I got one that's 8-inch, and I think they do a 4-inch version as well. So yeah, great, love them. And at night the shack lights up all blue. I'm going to shut this door. It's getting colder. That night the shack all lights up blue. I don't know if I can show you that. Let me just quickly. I don't know if you can see that or not. I can show you. It looks a bit like a light blue here, but it's not actually. It's like quite a nice dark blue. But I don't know if you'll see that or not.
Agora são 3h23. Queria lembrar os amigos que em janeiro a gente começa mais 3 cursos, ok? Quem quiser fazer com a gente, vai se preparando. Serão 4 meses de aulas, ok? Janeiro, fevereiro, março e abril. Serão 3 cursos. CW, legislação e comando de rodada, ok? Quem tiver interesse, pode fazer um dos 3, ou 2, ou 3. E os horários a gente não mexe, tá bom? Como o pessoal já está acostumado, né, a primeira edição às 5 horas já começa com as aulas, ok? Segunda edição, 17 horas, também já começa com as aulas, então esses horários a gente não mexe. As turmas também a gente não mexe, os horários e as turmas também não serão alterados, tá ok? A 7ª turma é pelo nosso canal ali no YouTube, tá bom? Tem a playlist, quem não puder fazer nesses horários, né, faz ali a qualquer horário do dia, da tarde, da noite e boa sorte. Tranquilo? Então tá aí, fica a dica para os amigos. O curso finaliza agora em final de dezembro, ok? Portanto, boa sorte aí para quem for iniciar com a gente em janeiro. E uma informação, né? A qualquer momento você tira dúvidas aí com a gente, ok? Sem problemas. Qualquer um dos 3 cursos, né? Qualquer momento durante a rodada você adentra via radiofrequência ou via internet e pode esclarecer as dúvidas, tá bom? Qualquer uma das 3 matérias, tranquilo. E vamos em frente. Ricardo gostou da estação, né, Ricardo? Vamos sortear uma dessa aqui na rodada, hein? Se alguém doa, né? Uma estação dessa aí completa, a gente sorteia para os amigos. Né? Que maravilha, hein? Bom, 3h29. Oportunidade. Essa que vem agora é grande também, hein? Essa que vai mostrar já. Aqui é a parte de consertos e equipamentos. Esse é um radioamador que mora no Texas, ok? É uma das maiores estações de radioamador que eu já vi, né? Tem maior ainda, mas a dele é de lascar também. Essa é uma estação, tem muita coisa, nossa. Já vai mostrar a estação do homem. Ô, Domingos, bom dia, grande abraço. PY2EXU Lima, Victor Delta, bom domingo e obrigado pelos votos, ok? Vai em Poá, ô, Domingos, hoje tem encontro em Poá, hein? Encontro de radioamadores, cidade de Poá, logo mais aí 8h30 em diante, tá bom? Lembrando, são para todos os amigos, tá? Não só radioamadores, ok? Esse 9º encontro de radioamadores hoje na cidade de Poá para todos os amigos. Corujas, PX, futuros radioamadores, ok? Ninguém fica de fora. Quem não conhece o endereço, vou passar agora novamente, ok? Anota aí. 9º encontro de radioamadores. Hoje, né, dia 6/11, domingo, Rua Lucindo Pereira Jordão, número 120, Vila Áurea, Poá. Repetindo, 9º encontro de radioamadores, hoje, domingo, dia 6/11, na cidade de Poá. Rua Lucindo Pereira Jordão, número 120, primo segundo negativo, Vila Áurea, Poá, ok? Então, todos convidados e vamos em frente. Oportunidade com um bom dia.
My shack measures about 24 by 16 feet. I built all of the operating desks in the center console.
A estação do homem.
Each wall is on a separate
Olha lá,
circuit
Ricardo,
with
vê o tamanho da
120,
estação, olha o que tem de
240 volt
equipamento.
outlets. This panorama shot was made before I finished the 813 transmitter, which is now in the RCA rack to the left of the TDO transmitter. Otherwise, the picture is current. We'll go around the room on our tour. My latest construction project is what I call the RAN transmitter. This rig uses a digital chip exciter with a 1625 power amplifier. Any of 4 oscillator frequencies in the 75-meter phone band can be selected. The idea was to use pre-programmed oscillator chips instead of crystals. The exciter feeds a single 813 power amplifier. The modulator uses a pair of 811As and a modulation transformer from an ART13. The speech amplifier is also based on the ART13. The high voltage power supply, named the Blue Piglet, can deliver 2,000 volts to the modulator and PA. Moving along the east wall of the shack, we see some of the artifacts and treasures I've collected, as well as a small portion of my extensive library of technical books. My late mentor, J.B. Jenkins, W5EU, gave me his entire library before he passed away. In the center of the room is a console containing the master power control panel, a computer, a K3 and an alpha, a 51J3 receiver, and the TDO remote control panel. The station master power panel shows the status of AC primary and 12-volt DC.
Positivo. Ô, Douglas, bom dia, grande abraço, bom domingo, ok? E parabéns aí, né, pelo esforço, saindo agora do evento, né? Não é brincadeira, né? Então tá aí, Douglas, como que tá o amigo, a família, os rádios, enfim, conta pra gente, ok? PY2EXU MotoGP, saindo lá do batente, sentido Osasco agora, né, Douglas? Bom domingo, adiante.
Ok, Papa Yankee 2EXU, essa de PO2 Mike Golf Papá, Douglas aqui pela móvel, né, ancorada pela Bienal. Negativo de ir embora, Papa. Tá começando só. Chegou aqui umas 11 horas da noite, meia-noite foi o horário de abertura e a gente está no meio da execução. Agora paramos para tomar um cafezinho aqui, tá bom? Vamos tomar um cafezinho aqui no carro do colega. E agora, na negativo, Paulo, é continuar aqui, hein? Os rádios, Paulo, eu tô falando só em UHF, que eu tô fazendo umas experiências. E falando pouco, Paulo, falando muito pouco, tá na correria, agora a correria é outra. Você sabe que agora é um pouco mais pegado por causa da situação que mudou. Tá bom, Paulo? Mas estamos entregando um evento aqui na Bienal, que vai ser segunda-feira de manhã, tá? É um desfile de moda, ok, Paulo? Então a gente tem que aguardar o pessoal levantar os quitais aí, tá ok? E estamos aguardando aqui, né? Agora tomar um cafezinho, daqui a pouco aguardar a equipe que vai vir trazer a internet aqui, que só vai chegar às 9 da manhã. Eu aqui, Paulo, acho que antes do meio-dia não saio não, tá bom? Vou estar por cá, a gente vai se falar um pouco ainda durante o dia aí, provavelmente, ok, Paulo? Papa Yankee 2EXU, essa de PY2 Mike Golf Papa, móvel ancorado com antena dual band, Paulo.
Positivo. Deixa eu vir no final de escala, tá bom, Douglas? Com a sua antena dual, com esse rádio, com essa potência, ok? Excelente. Não sei se está na máxima, na média, na mínima. Depois você me confirma, tá bom? Tá maravilha. Nesse ponto aí, sinalaço, hein? Final de escala pra gente. Áudio também 5. E quanto ao batente, achei, né, que você ia cair fora agora, aqui nada, né? Até meio-dia, né, Douglas? Então, vai estar aí com a gente na rodada alto-falante. E finalizando, aí chega, né? Vamos para casa descansar, né, Douglas? Maravilha, hein? Então, tá bom. E o batente aí corrido, né, pelo visto. O pessoal tem perguntado, eu tenho dado aí a informação que é isso mesmo, né? Você está correndo muito, muito batente. O último que perguntou de você foi o Wagner, tá bom? Lá de Interlagos, hein? Whisky Tango X-Ray. Que ela até tem colocado alguns vídeos na internet legal, né? Curtos, né? Vídeos aí de 3 minutos, 5. Né? Bem interessante e bem bacana, gostei muito, hein? Vou dar os parabéns lá pro Wagner, que não tinha visto. Né? Todo mundo falava dos vídeos lá do homem. Eu falei, deixa eu ver os vídeos do Wagner, né? Bacana, né? Tudo curtinho, 3, 5 minutos. Né? Um curta também lá da Santa Ifigênia, 611, depois falando de um rádio, de VUHF digital, DMR, enfim. Depois um outro rádio na janela, HT. E tem um monte de vídeos, hein? Tudo curtinho, bem bacana, né? Porque não enjoa, né? Aquela coisa bem, bem rápida e já dá uma noção do equipamento. Muito, muito bom. Então deixa contigo, Douglas, PY2 Mike, Golf Papa, adiante.
Ok, Paulo, PY2EXU, essa de PY2 Mike Golf Papa, móvel ancorado, 50 watts, Paulo. Esse rádio é o FT 7800 Romeo, tá bom? 7800 Romeo. Ele é dual band, tá, Paulo? A anteninha tá com a dual. A anteninha maior eu tô usando menos, tá? O WTX eu falo com ele com uma certa frequência, viu, Paulo? Em U, tá? Eu tô ficando na repetidora 439050, tá bom? 439050, mantida lá pelo Chico, tá bom? Papa Yankee 2, November Fox, né? E o Magrão também, né? Que sempre tá lá com ele, dando manutenção. Papa Yankee 2, Mike Fox. Tá bom, Paulo? E eu tô sempre lá, viu, na 439050, porque eu tô fazendo uns estudos de ondas refletidas em UHF, tá? O VHF, ele tem uma certa reflexão, mas o UHF, a reflexão é muito maior, Paulo. Eu com o HT Baofeng, com 50 miliwatts, se eu fizer um apontamento certo, Paulo, por uma parede lá, de um prédio que eu tenho, perto de casa, eu consigo pegar na refletida a repetidora, tá, Paulo? Eu montei uma direcionalzinha de 5 elementos, o HF ficou bem pequenininha, mas o projetinho não deu muito certo não, mas deu para testar justamente isso. Então eu estou testando as reflexões, tá? E o sinal tá chegando bem para você, é porque eu estou do outro lado da Bienal, né? Eu estou do lado, como é que eu vou te explicar? Eu estou do lado que está mais propício pro teu lado, tá? Eu não estou com o seu lado obstruído. Eu estava com o carro no outro lado, que estava mais longe daqui da onde a gente estava fazendo a montagem. Aí eu falei pro o pessoal, falei, vamos colocar os carros ali na outra posição. Aí eu coloquei nessa posição, tá bom, Paulo? E essa posição está totalmente aberta para você aí, tá bom? Totalmente. Então eu tô do lado do parque, né? Parque assim, da Oca, vou dizer assim, tá? Tô do lado Oca Marquise, né? Não do outro lado. Do outro lado não iria, você não ia me escutar com sinal bom, não, com certeza. tá bom? WTX eu falo com ele quase todo santo dia, viu, Paulo? Lá na 439-050, tá? Repetidorazinha boa, viu, Paulo, em UHF, tá? Eu não gostava de UHF e não usava UHF. Aí coloquei essa antena dual band e comecei a corujar, né? Comecei a corujar essa repetidora e mais algumas outras. E aí despertou, Paulo, a curiosidade, porque eu só uso ela pro hotspot, né? A UHF só estava usando até agora, então, pro hotspot, né? E aí despertou a curiosidade e comecei a fazer essas pesquisas aí. Mas é durante o dia, né, Paulo? A maior parte do tempo eu estou em home office, né, ainda. Executando os projetos, validando, montando, desenhando projetos, né? Então a responsabilidade agora mudou. Então, assim, eu passo o dia inteiro com o rádio ligado, mas eu só fico corujando, tá, Paulo? E eu fico, na parte da manhã, é aquela questão complicada que é criança para a escola e tem que executar isso, executar aquilo outro. Aí então eu deixo para depois, né, as coisas, né? Então eu fico corujando o dia inteiro a 439-050, uma baita de uma repetidora boa, viu, Paulo? Em UHF, se eu não digo São Paulo, uma das melhores, ok? Ainda analógica, né? E com 1 watt lá do Baofeng UV5E, aqueles meu veinho lá, eu consigo falar normalmente, hein, Paulo? Normalmente com 1 watt, com 5 watts, usando esse esquema de... Não precisa ser direcional, mas se eu me direcionar para essa parede, eu consigo fechar contatos aí, o pessoal fala que está muito bem. Ok, Paulo? Então estou testando uma reflexão de UHF, que me espantou bem, né? Que é uma coisa que eu estou mais acostumado para o Wi-Fi, que eu estou acostumado mais para outras áreas, né, da comunicação, mas está me animando, viu, Paulo? Paulo, eu vou agradecendo você a oportunidade, mas eu vou entrar no X aqui que o pessoal está me chamando para tomar um cafezinho ali, tá bom? Vou tomar um cafezinho no carro do colega aqui e depois, mais tarde, a gente se fala, viu, Paulo? Mais tarde, a hora que eu der mais uma outra parada, eu venho aqui pro rádio e a gente bate mais um papo, tá bom? TKS Paulo Forte 73, um abraço a todos do QTH. E mais tarde, ainda hoje, a gente vai se falar pelo menos mais umas 2 vezes aí, eu acredito. Tá ok? E depois, se você estiver regressando para usar, se for antes do horário final da rodada, daí a gente faz um teste. Eu vou colocar a antena monobanda e a gente vai falando daqui até Osasco, tá bom? TKS Paulo, PY2EXU, PY2MGP entrando em QRT. TKS Paulo.
Ok. PY2 Mike Golf Papa, Douglas. Fique à vontade, tá bom, Douglas? Grande abraço. Um bom evento, até meio-dia, né? E te aguardo aí, tá bom? Qualquer momento, em edição extraordinária, adentre na rodada, ok? Boa sorte aí e tudo de bom, Douglas. Vai firme, hein? Vai tomar o cafezinho, que eu já estou tomando o meu, hein? Até ofereci para o Ricardo, ok? Tá na terra, e para o Domingos também, né? Ricardo Domingos, demais amigos lá pela internet, mas eles não quiseram, viu, Douglas? Mas tá bom, né? Foi passado agora, tá fresquinho, hein? Abraço, abraço e até mais.
Then run underground into the shack. Old pal Butch, K0BS.
Obrigado, bom batente.
20-volt power available to post. My wire dipole is used only for 75 and 160 meter phone. Stretched almost 300 feet between two 70-foot tall towers, the antenna is fed with heavy-duty ladder line. The north tower is a RON HD-BX self-supporting tower. The south tower is RON 25 and guide at 3 points. Both towers have winches to raise and lower the antenna. We plan to replace the ladder line with true open wire line this fall. The ladder line itself is supported 2 feet above the man cave metal roof and terminates in a pair of titty bowl insulators with horn gaps on each wire. This feeds through the building wall into the shack. I hired a sign company to erect the towers under K0BS's supervision. It only took them an hour, as we had pre-assembled and prepped the towers themselves. It was the best $500 investment I've ever made. Now that we've examined the exterior part of our antenna farm, let's take a look at what happens when it comes in the shack. Okay, from the titty bowl insulators here, the feed line comes down to this first rather nasty looking knife switch. As you can see, it's in the safe position at this moment. That means that the conductors are directly grounded to the common point. And I'll explain the common point in a few minutes. To operate, you obviously throw the switch to operate. That brings the RF current from this switch over to this other knife switch. This knife switch can switch to the 75 meter coupler or the 160 meter coupler. I'll explain those in just a few minutes. So these two watt meters are in the line depending on which coupler is selected. Now this switch, these bird switches here, can connect any of the antennas to any of the 12.
In today's video, we're going to take a close look at this Rig Expert AA55 Zoom antenna analyzer, really kind of geared towards the radio amateur who likes operating in HF and the 6 meter frequency bands. Because the 55 stands for 55 megahertz, which is the upper frequency range of this analyzer. Rig Expert makes about 10 different models of analyzers that range from a max frequency of 30 megahertz up to 1400 megahertz or 1.4 gigahertz. We should more accurately call this unit a multifunction antenna and cable analyzer because it really is a lot more than simply an antenna analyzer. Let's go take a look at what I mean by that. Do a quick rundown of the various measurements you can make with this AA55 Zoom. We've got the ability to plot the complex impedance versus frequency on a Smith chart, as well as plotting SWR versus frequency on a traditional SWR sweep. Plot just complex impedance versus frequency, the real and reactive components. The SWR meter is a single frequency SWR meter that has a couple of interesting modes in it. All params is a way of looking at everything from the SWR, return loss, complex impedance, etc. at a given frequency. The setup function allows you to go in and set up the language, the units, whether you want it to be imperial units or metric units, set up frequency bands, amateur radio frequency bands to be in the Americas or Europe and other parts of the world. There's a calibrate function that allows you to do a full vector calibration so that you can establish a reference plane either at the instrument's connector or maybe at the end of a piece of coax. So you can actually make measurements referred to the antenna feed point impedance. You can also sweep return loss versus frequency. The multi-SWR function allows you to measure SWR at multiple frequencies, really handy when you're trying to tune a multi-band antenna and looking for the interaction between tuning one band and seeing its reaction on another band. And there are some additional tools for coax measurements which can be really handy. A stub tuner that allows you to to measure and tune particular lengths for quarter wave and a half wave length long hunks of coax or stubs of coax. You can also measure the length and velocity factor of coax, and also sweep the cable loss and cable impedance versus frequency. So lots of functionality and actually very easy to use. If you take a look at the icons here on the left-hand side, the number is associated with the keypad number. So for the Smith chart, we would just hit number 2, and you see that key number 2 says polar, and that's essentially the Smith chart. If you want to do an SWR chart, you could just hit the number 4, and it says SWR right there. The real and imaginary impedance plot is key number 5, etc. So it's very, very easy to figure out what to do. And also, no matter where you are in a measurement or things like that, the 1 key is generally a help key, and it tells you so right here. you hit 1, it actually gives you help, and you can scroll through and get help about what these various keys do. So you don't even have to crack the manual open, even though the manual is actually very well written. I got access to a 20-meter antenna down here in the basement shack, so let me hook that up to the analyzer here, and we'll run through some of the measurements that we can make on this antenna. Let's start off with the very basic SWR chart. So I'll select that by either hitting 4 or arrowing up and down until I select that item and hitting OK. And right now I've got it set to sweep with a center frequency of 27.5 megahertz and a sweep 27.5 on either side. So it's the full range sweep. And if I hit OK, we're sweeping that full range of the antenna. Now what you can see on this sweep are these various colored bands. Each of these colored blue bars represent amateur radio bands. In this case, I've got it set for the US and North America amateur radio bands. And we can actually see we've got a dip in the SWR right here on this band, which happens to be the 20-meter band. In fact, the minimum is being shown here at about 14,360, just outside the amateur radio band, about 1.89. Now, any of the plots that are made on the analyzer itself consist of just 100 points. So it's likely that there's a lot more going on in here. Now, we can tune the analyzer a number of different ways. Just by hitting the frequency up and down keys, I can shift our measurement frequency. And then the up and down keys here will change the range. So I can zoom in on a particular area. So I can center that again and zoom in again. And then I can go and repeat the measurement and do another 100-point sweep right there. So now I can actually see I've got a little bit better granularity in the 20-meter band, and I can actually see that the minimum is sitting inside the 20-meter band. Just as an example of some of the other functions that are available to you, we'll hit the help key here. So you can do, you can just have it run once and stop by hitting the check like we've been doing. If we hit the function and checkbox, it'll continuously cycle and continue running until we hit the stop key. 0 will show the data at the cursors, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I've got the cursor sitting right here. If I hit the 0 key, it shows me the SWR, the complex impedance and its phase, the return loss, as well as the complex impedance values that are there. Some other interesting things, let's scroll down to the next page of help. I can change frequency like I was showing you using the frequency keys back and forth, change the range by hitting the range up and down keys. The 3 key will actually allow me to enter frequencies directly a couple of different ways. We'll look at that next. And then the function in 3 key will restore you back to the full sweep of the analyzer again. Oh, and one more page on help here. Hitting the function and the side arrows will jump you to the minimum SWR. So that's really handy to, if you see where the minimum is, I could jump to that frequency, then zoom in around that. The function up and down keys will change the scale or vertical scale on the plot. We can also save or load data, so you can actually save traces that you've made on previous measurements, even edit those names. So a lot of functionality that's available here. So if I hit the function and arrow keys, I can jump right to where that minimum is and then re-perform a sweep right there again. If I hit the 3 key, that allows me to go change frequencies directly. I can tell it what center frequency I want and how much I want to sweep around that. Again, hitting the function and 3 key will do the full range, but also hitting the function key allows me to now scroll up and down through the various amateur radio bands. So the 20-meter band is centered at 14.175, and then plus or minus 175 kilohertz around that. The 30-meter band is here. So if I only want to sweep just the 20-meter band, I could just select that, hit OK, and now if I sweep that, now I'm sweeping my antenna just over the 20-meter amateur radio band. If I want to go a little bit wider, I can just open up the scale and then sweep again. And again, if we move the frequency back and forth, essentially our little vertical bar here is where we're making a measurement. So in this case, if I move it over at this particular vertical bar, I can see the SWR is 1.87. If I hit the data key, I can see there's the SWR and all of the other numeric values associated with that particular measurement. Now, once we've made a sweep, we can look at it in a number of different formats. For example, if I hit the polar key or key number 2, that brings me to the Smith chart. And here's the Smith chart now of this particular antenna impedance versus frequency. You can see the little red square here. That's essentially at this frequency here, 14.215. And by hitting the frequency arrow keys, we can move that around and see where we are in the Smith chart at different frequencies. Similarly, we can hit the R, X key, key number 5, and that brings me to the complex or the real and imaginary components of this antenna. If I hit the function and range up and down keys, I can change the scale of the measurement that we're looking at here. Instead of being plus or minus 1,000 ohms, we can knock that down to look at even a finer scale to look at the real and imaginary components of the complex impedance looking into this coax. The function 4 key will take us from the SWR plot to the return loss plot, just another representation of essentially impedance match, and essentially we want the return loss to be as high as possible when the SWR is low as possible. So we can actually see we get a return loss here of about 15 or so, 14.8 at 14.24 megahertz. So those 4 measurements, the Smith chart, SWR return loss, and complex impedance sweeps, are all kind of the swept measurements that you can make with this antenna analyzer. But there's a number of other measurements we can make which are equally useful. So if we hit the 7 key, or the SWR key, we'll get essentially a SWR meter. And by hitting the OK check mark key here, we can start the meter reading. That's what the flashing indicator means here. And this shows us our measurement frequency, graphically and numerically showing the SWR as well as showing the return loss. Again, I can hit the frequency keys to move up and down in frequency and see how the SWR changes at different frequencies. And if I use the function and arrow keys, we can move the frequency in larger steps. And of course, hitting the frequency and range key, we can actually dial in a frequency directly if we want to do that. But there's some other interesting capability here. Let's take a look at the help key and see what I'm talking about. So we talked about how to change frequency and set frequency, start and stop the meter. But there's also this function here called SWR to air. This is actually a very interesting feature. Let's look at that right now. The SWR to air feature is really useful when the analyzer is sitting in a spot where you can't see it when you're making adjustments on the antenna. It could be that the analyzer is sitting at the end of a coax, maybe inside your vehicle or inside your Radio Shack, and you're outside making physical adjustments to the antenna, and you can't see what the meter reading is saying. So the SWR to air function basically will transmit a code to tell you what is going on with the SWR as you're making adjustments to your antenna. You set the SWR to air transmit frequency using the function 3 key, and then you start this up. Let me show you what that looked like. Well, I've already set the SWR to air transmit frequency to 144.500 megahertz, so I can hear it on this little handy talkie. So I could stick this thing in my back pocket when I'm making adjustments to the antenna. And then in order to enable this function, I hit the function and checkmark key. So let's actually go do that. So I hit the function and checkmark. You hear one short beep coming out of the radio. So the single beep tells us that we're in the 1 to 1.0 to 1.99 SWR range. As we go higher in SWR, the duration of that beep gets longer. So we can hear now that we're at 1.76, 1.77, 1.8. The length of that beep is longer than it was down here. See, it's a nice short beep now that we're below 1.5 to 1. If we go even higher in frequency, we get into the 2s. It's transmitting 2 beeps. Okay, we get into the 3s and above, it transmits 3 or 4 beeps to tell us that we're way out in SWR. So by listening to these beeps and how many are being transmitted and then the duration of them, we can see how our SWR is doing remotely without having to actually be seeing what the meter is doing. Now, another handy feature for the single frequency SWR measurement is the heartbeat display. And that display is entered by hitting the function and up arrow. So if I hit the function up arrow here, we get this heartbeat display. And what this is kind of like a scrolling, almost like a heartbeat monitor, which is why it's called that. So as the SWR changes, this bar graph changes. So let's see if I can adjust frequency up and down. We can actually see the SWR changing because I'm changing frequency. So we can tell by looking at this bar graph very quickly if I'm making adjustments in the right direction, either with an antenna tuner or by actually tuning my antenna physically.
Agora são 4 horas. PY2EXU, Paulo, e a nossa rodada alto-falante. Lembrando, os amigos, que hoje, domingo, dia 6/11, temos aí algumas informações importantes. Primeiro, em relação ao dia do radioamador, que foi ontem, né? Para quem não sabe, ontem, 5 de novembro, dia do radioamador aqui no Brasil, ok? Também, ontem, homenagens ao patrono do radioamadorismo. Sempre na primeira semana de novembro, é o dia também que prestamos homenagens ao padre Roberto Landel de Moura. Tranquilo? Então, 2 datas importantes. Dia do radioamador, foi ontem, 5 de novembro, e semana em homenagem ao patrono dos radioamadores, padre Roberto Landel de Moura, que estamos comemorando, ok? E terceiro, hoje, encontro de radioamadores na cidade de Poá. Quem quiser comparecer, todos convidados, radioamadores, PX, corujas, simpatizantes do hobby, ok? Todos poderão comparecer. Anota o endereço. Vai ser na cidade de Poá. 9º encontro de radioamadores. Hoje, dia 6/11, Rua Lucindo Pereira Jordão, número 120, primo segundo negativo, Vila Áurea, São Paulo. Então, repetindo, 9º encontro de radioamadores, cidade de Poá, hoje, 6/11, a partir das 8h30, ok? Rua Lucindo Pereira Jordão, número 120, Vila Áurea, cidade de Poá. Quem está recepcionando os amigos, nosso grande amigo Jardel, grande radioamador, grande professor de CW, ok? Com muita atividade, muita coisa bacana no evento hoje, tá bom? Todos convidados, compareçam e vamos prestigiar o radioamadorismo. Afinal de contas, né, mês de novembro é o nosso mês, né? Temos aí no dia 5, que foi ontem, dia do radioamador, toda essa primeira semana, homenagens ao patrono do radioamadorismo. Então temos que festejar essa data, não é? Essas datas, né? São várias datas, mais o encontro hoje é de radioamador, enfim. Então, muita coisa aí importante. E vamos em frente. Oportunidade com bom dia.
Measures that length of 24.87. In this case, it's feet, because I've set the analyzer to use imperial units, because that's what I use here in the US. But you could also set it to measure in meters. Now, if you knew the length, but you didn't know the velocity factor, you could dial in the length and actually measure the velocity factor. Now, the cable loss tool allows us to measure the loss of the coax versus frequency. We start off by leaving the far end open and hit the check mark. It collects a little bit of data. Then it's going to ask us to connect up a short to the far end of the cable, which I'm doing now, and hit the OK key. Oops, hold on, let me get my short on there. Hit the OK key. We'll make some measurements on the short, and then we get the plot of loss versus frequency, and we can move our frequency back and forth to measure loss at any given frequency here. And once we've done that sweep, we can also then switch to the cable impedance tool and hit OK, and we've automatically got the results of that. That's going to show us our coax impedance versus frequency. Now, in this case, you're going to see these little disturbances that are going to occur every quarter wavelength, just because of the way the impedance inverts at the quarter wavelength boundaries. But we can see that this coax is a little bit closer to 55 or 60 ohms as opposed to 50 ohms. This is an old piece of dried out coax here, so I'm not too surprised that it's not closer to 50 ohms, but very easy to get those results as well.
And to this live stream today. It's a big day. I'm here on the contest station, Oscar Mike 0 Mike. As you can see here, there are many big antennas, and here is Vlado, Oscar Mike 3 Tango Whiskey Mike.
Hello.
And here you can see all details. Today I would like to show you more about these antennas, towers, and then I would like to go inside the ham shack room and to show you the equipment they have over there. And we would like to work on 20 meters. So here is the box with the old stuff. As you can see, many switches, cables. Inside the room. And this is 50 meters. This is 50 meters tall, a big tower. And up on this tower, you can see actually 4 antennas. It's a 5/5 Yagi for 20 meters. It's right there and there. And also the antenna, the Yagi for a 4-element for 40 meters. And on top, the biggest one is 2-element Yagi for 3.5 megahertz for 80 meters. The model of 3.5 megahertz antenna is Oscar Hotel 1 Tango Victor. And this antenna is special because it can be switched to the 2-dipole mode or to 2-element Yagi. You can see the rings which rotates the antenna separately. You can rotate the stack antenna separately. The upper and the lower, they have separate rotators. It's very smart solutions. All right, so here, the other side of the switching box. So it's really huge. All right, so this is the 50-meter tall tower. And here you can see the square, what's the name? Foursquare. Yes, is the Foursquare antenna for 3 bands from for 160. Is this 4 verticals? First is here, second, third, and there behind is fourth. They are for 160, 80, and 40 meters. Jaká je výška tých vertikálov? Koľko? Okay, each one is 22-meter tall, vertical. As you can see, the base. Okay. A huge guy ropes right here. Here you can see the guying ropes and the guying system as they have done. Okay, so the next tower is with the Moxon antenna for WARC bands, which is on top. And the antenna under the Moxon is... Na jaké pasmo je tá spodná antenna? Tá spodná.
6 element diagonál.
Na jaké pasmo? Aha. So the antenna on the bottom, the biggest or the bigger one, is for 20 meters in 6 elements. Yeah, of course it's rotary type. It's rotary Yagi. And it looks like it is a crank tower. Mm-hmm. Right here. Nice. Okay, so next is the 18 meters. Ale výška je 20 metrov. So 20 meter tall.
6 over 6.
And 6 element over 6 element for 10 meters. 10 metrov?
28 metrov.
Čiže 10 metrové pásmo. Čiže 6 over 6 for 10 meter band. And in the middle, between them, it's a VHF antenna. Okay. And over there is the antenna for 40 meters. It's a 4 element. And I think that's it's also about 20 meter tall. Jaká je výška toho stožiara? And the second one on top of that 50 meter tall tower. And they can cover long distances in different times. Depends on the sunshine on the earth. So they can reach with the height, a different height of these antennas, different places on the earth. Depends on the propagations. Okay, so here you can see the full scale of the antenna farm as they have.
No.
Okay.
No.
Hey. Okay, I'm going further. This is an old CB antenna, by the way. All right, so here. Yeah, it looks really amazing. Good. So I'm going inside. I will show you. And we'll show you the equipment, what they have. They have 3 working rooms.
Welcome to my contest.
Okay.
Agora são 4h15. Hoje, domingo, dia 6/11. Lembrando o nosso time, das 3 ao meio-dia. Teremos mais de 9 horas de QAP. Estamos ao vivo também lá na internet. Quem quiser acompanhar a rodada alto-falante lá no YouTube, é só entrar por lá, digitar rodada alto-falante e clicar no ao vivo. Em qualquer lugar do planeta, você estará acompanhando a rodada aí diariamente, ok? E nas duas edições, primeira edição na parte da manhã, segunda edição à tarde, sábados, domingos e feriados, edição única, sempre na parte da manhã, e as gravações também, que a gente deixa aí na internet, ok? Acabando aí a rodada, a gente sempre disponibiliza essas gravações, tranquilo? E vamos falar do curso que começa agora em janeiro. Quem quiser fazer com a gente, serão 3 cursos: curso de CW, curso de legislação e curso comando de rodada. Serão na sequência, ok? Na ordem que eu passei para os amigos. Na primeira edição, a partir das 5 horas. Na segunda edição, a partir das 17 horas. Também pela internet, nos mesmos horários aí, ok? Da live. Ou, para quem não puder fazer com a gente, tem a playlist, ok? Cada playlist é um curso específico. Você escolhe o horário e faz aí no melhor horário que você tiver, ok? 1, 2 ou 3. E a qualquer momento aí do dia, na primeira edição ou segunda edição, tendo dúvidas, você tira dúvidas aí com a gente na rodada, ok? Via radiofrequência, via internet, na live, no streaming ou na nossa relação ali de temas e assuntos da playlist, ok? Fica aí a dica para os amigos. Quem quiser começar com a gente, janeiro, inicia, ok? Serão 4 meses de aulas, janeiro, fevereiro, março e abril, e boa sorte. Outro lembrete importante hoje, grande evento em Poá, ok? É o 9º encontro de radioamadores na cidade de Poá. Quem quiser anotar o endereço, anota aí. 9º encontro de radioamadores na cidade de Poá. Hoje, dia 6/11, domingo. Endereço: Rua Lucindo Pereira Jordão, número 120, Vila Áurea, cidade de Poá. Repetindo, Rua Lucindo Pereira Jordão, número 120, primo segundo negativo, Vila Áurea, cidade de Poá. Lembrando que todos poderão comparecer, ok? Radioamadores, PX, corujas, simpatizantes aí do hobby, futuros radioamadores, todos convidados. Pode ir com família, com amigos, tá bom? Não tem problema. Quem puder levar um pouco de ração para gato ou cachorro, colabore, ok? Eles têm algumas instituições que cuidam dos animais e precisam dessa ração aí para gatos e cachorros, tá bom? Quem puder colaborar, faça uma forcinha, leva lá um saquinho de 1 quilo, de 5 ou 10, enfim. Né? No que você puder ajudar, colabore, ok? 4h21. Oportunidade com bom dia.
All right, the mic is turned on. Ja nie budem počuť. Tu. So, as you can see, I'm on 20 meters, and currently I have connected 2 Yagi antennas. I have 2 Yagi antennas right now. Is a stack 5/5 in about 50 and 40 meters height, or the elevation of the ground. I hope that you see the frequency. No, dobra. Nice. Okay, I'm going to find a clear frequency for you. Please let me know if you hear the sound of the radio, okay? Please let me know if you see the picture and if you hear the voice from radio.
Mike India Romeo. Mike India Romeo Papa 20, your 559, number 66. Thank you, your 525. 25, thank you, good luck. Italy Kilo 1, radio call, 6 kilo contact. India Kilo 1, radio call, 6 kilo contact.
Zvuk ide tu?
India Kilo 1, radio call, 6 kilo contact.
Ono ide na 255. Môže byť? Sorry. Okay, Ellie. Hello, Ellie. Thank you for a great audio. Okay, that's good. It's good that you hear sound from the radio. Hello, Nikos. Greetings to Greece.
Thank you, contact.
Contest dneska nejaký?
Thank you, contact. Thank you.
Tu je ten D. $82 vyzerá byť čistá. Dobre, kde to smerujeme? 314.